Good evening. Welcome to the November 6th, 2024 Evening Board of Supervisors meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Our first item of business tonight is a citizens forum. Well, hang on here a second. Now, see, you told me how good I'm doing, and then I can screw this up.
I apologize, sir.
We'll move along. Our citizens forum is an opportunity for citizens to come before the board and speak about whatever issues they so desire that are not on the agenda this evening. You should limit your comments to 3 minutes. And with that, if there is anyone that would like to come forward, indicate. Raise your hand. Mr. Haight.
Good evening, Don Haight, Stevensburg. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Culpeper residents have been asking for transparency and requesting Board of Supervisors town hall meetings. David Lee has held many throughout the year. Last weekend, David Durr had one, and it was well received. David was personable and responded to all questions. Everyone was respectful, and we wanted to thank David for giving us the opportunity to have dialogue. On November the 20th, the Planning Commission will be having a public hearing at Eastern View School at 7 p.m. Not here, I repeat, not here, but at Eastern View School. The Planning Commission will discuss and vote on the Board of Supervisors' proposed zoning changes. If you love Culpeper, you must attend. This is just as important as the Second Amendment that some of the boards tried to take from the Culpeper residents. These proposed changes are designed to take our rights away and our property values, disguised as slowing growth. The only solution to slow growth is to stop approving large subdivisions like the Armstrong property that is in front of the Planning Commission. We need your support, so please come to the Planning Commission and reject all the Board of Supervisors' proposed changes. Reject it and send it back to the board with absolutely no changes. You don't have to sit down and write a long speech. Just come to the mic and say, please reject all of the Board of Supervisors' changes. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Anyone else? Okay, we will close the citizens forum. We have an agenda before us. Are there any additions or deletions? Hearing none, we will move on. General county business, we have 2 items before us tonight. The board will hold a public hearing and consider expansion of the public water and sewer service area in Elkwood between the railroad and Route 1529. Mr. Egertson, would you like to introduce this?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the board. The board previously discussed this matter of potentially allowing water and sewer service from the sewage treatment plant at the air park to expand to the parcels that are depicted on the screen now there that are outlined in red. This is a handful of parcels zoned, some of which are zoned commercial, some are industrial, and a couple are residential. They're sandwiched between Route 29 and the railroad right at the traffic signal at Elkwood. And we did discuss with another party the potential for them to extend the water and sewer across the street to serve those parcels and opted to have this public hearing tonight to consider adding these to our water and sewer service area.
Are there any questions? If not, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Is there any further question or discussion from the board? Is there a motion?
I would like to move that the board approve the expansion of the public water and sewer service area in Elkwood between the railroad and Route 1529.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. The next item of consideration tonight, the board will hold a public hearing and consider the adoption of amendments to Chapter 9, miscellaneous offenses and provisions of the county code, specifically Articles 1 and 3 on regulations to open fires. Sam, would you like to lead us on this one?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that, the mic's a little loud there. Yes, this is a simple, fairly simple code amendment that's being proposed was through the Rules Committee. The board authorized a public hearing tonight. It's found in Chapter 9 of the county code, which is termed miscellaneous offenses and provisions, but inside Chapter 9, there's a section that deals with the fire, what we call our fire code. It is limited fairly in nature today. One of the primary changes, Mr. Chairman, that's been advertised for hearing tonight is a new section. It basically identifies a lead enforcement agency, which is not in the code today. This would be a new section potentially as drafted 9-39. Basically simply states that the provisions of this section shall be enforced by the Culpeper County Sheriff or his deputies. There's a subsection to that, letter B. The sheriff may seek enforcement help as needed from the State Fire Marshal's Office and other relevant agencies. And then also, Mr. Chairman, there's a section currently in the code today that's 9-1 and Article 1, and that's why that Article 1 was mentioned as well. And staff proposes, as it was before, to restructure that code, to keep those code sections 9-1, A, B, C, and a portion of D, but restructure that underneath 9-35 where we already have most of the fire regulations today. So there would be a little bit of a change and actually a duplication of offense charges if you're found guilty of a fire code issue. But we went with the steeper charge and struck out the lower class misdemeanor. But those are now moved under the penalty section, which is appropriate for 9-38. I'll be happy to entertain any questions. All those documents are posted on board docs. There's a red line document as well that kind of explained and commented those sections that we're seeking changes to.
Thank you, Sam. Any questions?
Yes. Does the sheriff support the changes?
The sheriff has been participating. I think he's reluctant to take on extra duties in this world just because there is limited ways to handle complaints at times. But I'm not going to speak directly for the sheriff, but my listening skills, that's what I've picked up on in conversation over the past couple of months. So.
Sheriff Chilton, would you like to make some comments?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for everything that we've talked about so far, the biggest thing for us for enforcement measures is just personnel. It's not that we're limited in personnel, but we're kind of limited in the chances to get to some of these places. A lot of them are going to take investigative pieces, which is going to mean search warrants and different things like that. A lot of these properties that we're having trouble with, like I can't remember the name of the subdivision, but there's a couple of them that are having some issues with, having some problems with those, and it's going to require more than just driving up to them and say, hey, you got to put your fire out. These are folks that are not willing to do small things, but they're willing to do, they're willing to take the battle. I mean, DEQ has been involved in a number of these investigations, so it's something that we can certainly start, but we may need to pull in other resources to fix it.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you. That's good context. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this matter? Mr. Haight, come on up.
Once again, Don H. Stevensburg. Thank you, Vice Chairman Durr. As always, my question would be, why are we making changes? I mean, is it a particular person? Do we have habitual offenders? Do we really need to make the changes? And then my next question would be, and I would like for you to discuss this, is that does it warrant getting our sheriffs involved? When we look at the sheriff's responsibility, is that a more of a responsibility that they need to be taken care of, just like with Neil and everything that he has to do. We all know that the zoning department needs more staffing. We all know that the building department needs more staffing. We all know this. And the sheriff, I'm sure they need more staffing too. Do they need to be spending their time with this versus other items? So that's what I'd like for you to discuss. We have a limited amount of resources. Where do you see the need for the resources? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? If not, we will close the public hearing. Any further discussion from the board?
I guess I'll have the discussion after the motion. I am strongly in support of this because I understand the challenges that have occurred, which I'll discuss in a moment. So I will make a motion that the board go ahead and adopt the amendments to Chapter 9, miscellaneous or offenses and provisions of the county code, specifically Articles 1 and 3, regulation of open fires.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
Yes, sir. I would like to, we had public hearing, we had a request that we discuss why we're doing this. There are specific issues in the county where there have been abuses that the county has not been able to address. It has even been taken to court, and the person or the individuals and companies involved have been fined. There has not been an adequate ability or a redress available to the county. I'm the least in support of more laws that there could be, but in this case, for the public safety and welfare of the county, I really believe we need this to be done. This will allow us to help protect versus, frankly, pollution that is affecting others. So I strongly support the motion and hope that we pass it.
And I have another comment. This is just adding an enforcement person or agency to the code, not changing any of the code that has already existed. So it's not like we're adding any content. All we're just saying is that the enforcement will be done by this office. So I would not want any codes in here that have ramifications to not have an enforcement organization, or else we might as well not have those items in the code. So I do support moving forward with this.
Comments, questions? If not, we'll call vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Move for adjournment.
We are adjourned.